What is the optimal diet for humans? Let's talk about it. Hey health heroes, welcome back to Adamimmune, the channel all about helping you improve your health naturally. And today I want to give you 10 tips on how to live your longest life. So what I've done is extrapolated the statistical data of the top 10 longest living nations, tribes, people on earth from all around the world, and I've come up with this just top 10 list. Hopefully this is helpful to you. Number 1, they all had access to fresh, real food. This is something that well, a lot of us don't really have today, do we? We go to the supermarkets and we get our food. It's not always fresh. Mostly it's frozen. I'm not saying that's the worst thing to do. The reason this is so important is because you can't just go get fresh food from anywhere, right? It's higher nutrition. So like I said in another video, you get your carbon, your hydrogen, your oxygen from carbs and fat, and for protein you can get your nitrogen. But from fresh foods in particular, you get your phosphorus, which is high in nucleotides. This is food or nutrition that you can only get from fresh, real food. The less fresh the food is, the lower the nucleotides. Number 2, they all had access to fish. They were fishermen. They lived mostly by the coast. You hear a lot of this in Mediterranean diet or whatever. They eat a lot of fish, right? This is something that a lot of us don't really do today. We go to the store and get our, produce or our fish. I wouldn't say fresh. I live in Kansas and it's not exactly the best quality that you can get anywhere. It's always frozen here. There are a lot of places on earth that have a lot better quality than I do, and maybe someday I'll move there. Who knows? Maybe Hawaii is in my future. Or Alaska, whatever. Number 3, they all had their own gardens, okay? Now this is something today that they are actually pushing because of the recession and the inflation, rise in market prices. A lot of people are going back to what's called victory gardening, okay? And they pushed this in the 1917, where they were in the World War and there wasn't enough food to send over the soldiers, so they were like, hey, everybody start a garden, and they did. They actually created 40% of all the produce that they needed domestically. So they had plenty to send over to the soldiers. And I think this is a great thing to do today. I wholly support people creating their own victory gardens at home. I would love to say that I want to do this. I do want to do this, and hopefully this summer I can really get back at it. Number 4, they did not overeat as much. Now, I know what you're saying, Adam, how can you say this when you're so overweight? Well, okay, this is about balance, right? Now, it's harder to overeat on a natural diet. Yes, this is true. It's easier to be overweight on a diet and eat more on a diet that consists mainly of, high refined sugar foods and salty foods that are highly flavorful, let's say. Lots of seasonings, lots of salt. Now, I'm not saying you can't enjoy these foods on occasion or treat. If you're on a healing diet like AIP, that's probably going to be mostly out of the question unless you're eating very specific treat foods. But it's something that they didn't have a long time ago, and they wouldn't have been able to overeat on, right? Now, they also had something called exercise, daily activity, and it was in excess, right? That's something a lot of us don't have today, me included. I need to get out there and get consistent with my exercise, and obviously good diet and exercise go hand in hand, sleep in keeping the weight under control. 5, they all had grass-fed, pasture-raised, good quality grass-fed beef, okay, and other red meats and different things, venison. I'm not saying you have to be pescatarian and just eat fish, okay? You can also get some great other quality meats into your diet. I love grass-fed beef. I think it's super healthy. It's high in omega-3s, especially compared to traditional conventional meat that's raised in a feedlot, right? It just makes sense. These foods, well, these animals were raised on grass, right? Their natural diet in the environment, and obviously that's just going to create healthier meat for us. It's a win-win here. Healthier animals, healthier people. Which leads us to number 6. Yes. They all ate organ meats, okay? This should not be a surprise to people, but a long time ago, people ate the whole animal. They didn't just eat steaks or ground beef. They ate it all, right? They ate the tongue. Actually, the lingua is pretty good. They ate a lot of different parts of the animal, the brain, and they enjoyed it, right? They found out ways to cook it and went to town. I highly suggest you doing this. If you eat nothing else, at least eat liver. It's one of the highest quality sources you can get of protein. It's lean, it's high in all kinds of things you're not going to get from any other sources on the planet, unless you eat, like a lot of seafood, which a lot of us aren't doing today. Shellfish, right, is high in copper and things like that. You can't get that unless you're eating shellfish or you're eating liver. Number 7, they all ate a fatty diet. Now, I don't mean they, started eating potato chips and coconut oil or whatever, but they ate fatty parts of the animal, things that we don't eat today. Did you know the brain is mostly fat? And I don't mean you should be eating mostly fat in a fatty diet, right? It just means that you have a good percentage of your calories from fat. Fat is really high in nutrients, okay? Fat-soluble vitamins. It's A, D, E, and K. It's really important to get these, okay? And these are something that you're not going to get in high quality in plant foods, okay? You can get some of them, sure, but they are most adaptable, or let's say biologically absorbable, from animal food. Please do not go eat a bunch of hydrogenated oil right now and be like, Adam told me to eat a fatty diet, okay? Because that is not what I'm saying. Number 8, they all had access to wild greens. Now, again, I'm going to go back to the nucleotides, okay? All of these things were high in nucleotides, phosphorus, and these things were great. They weren't high in pesticides like they are today, right? Okay, a long time ago. They're not high in all these, let's say, GMOs that are actually create their own toxins and proteins that kill the animals that feed on them. So they were a whole lot different than we have today. So I recommend that you eat let's say an animal-based diet, okay, only because the plant sources are highly toxic today. It's unfortunate. I wish I could eat a plant-based diet, but the people that are in control of how agriculture is ran don't seem to think that health is an issue today, and I'm sorry about that. I wish we could all just be eating plants all day long, shipped in from third world countries, but it's just not practical. Number 9, they all had access to clean, fresh spring water. Okay, now there's a difference between spring water and tap water, as I'm sure you know. Spring water has all the natural minerals in it, right? If it hasn't been, filtered out. So I highly recommend that you find a good source of water and drink from that only. I just don't drink tap water, if at all humanly possible. If I'm traveling or whatever, and it's highly difficult, yes, but it's high in a lot of things are added to it. And again, it just doesn't have the minerals necessary for your body to absorb the water, the hydration anyway. I mean, a lot of if you drink, well, a lot of people have a lot of specific autoimmune issues today that keeps them from being hydrated in the first place. You need these minerals to make sure all your bodily functions work together properly. There's some good options out there. A lot of people add salt to their water. I mean, a lot of people are like drinking Gatorade or something like that, which, there's worse things, but I recommend a good source of water. You can add minerals to your water. That's always a great idea. I buy my own like magnesium and zinc, and I add it to different things. So that's a good option. Okay, I'm not recommending a multivitamin or anything or multi-mineral, because there's a whole lot of other binders and fillers and things in there that you probably shouldn't be consuming in your diet. And if you're on a healing diet, that's really not a good idea. Less is more, right? So get specific with your healing. Try things one at a time, okay? And number 10, none of them had refined sugar. I mean, this one's an obvious one. Okay, they had a little bit of honey, sure. But, I mean, if we go back 100 years, people only had, on average, statistically, a half pound of sugar per the whole year. That's the entire year per person, half pound. Today, statistically, I can't talk, 100 years later, each person eats a half a pound every single day. That is a lot of sugar. The only sugar I get is from, berries or something like that, or fruits. I think that's the best way to go. Yes, I'm still overweight, but I'm very healthy. I healed myself doing this natural diet. Hopefully this list was helpful and you can incorporate at least some of these tips so you can live a happy, healthy life and thrive, not just survive. And by thrive, I mean you don't have to live on, half a counter of medicines to keep you alive. That's just functioning. That's not thriving. Well, thanks for watching, Health Heroes. I'll see you next time.
Missing some